The humid Manila air hung thick over the bustling gym as afternoon training sessions reached their peak intensity. Sweat-stained fighters moved between heavy bags and speed bags, their rhythmic strikes echoing off concrete walls adorned with faded championship posters, the familiar symphony of leather meeting canvas mixed with the distant honking of jeepneys navigating the crowded streets outside. Through the open doors, the scent of street food from nearby vendors drifted in, competing with the sharp smell of liniment and determination. Young boxers shadowboxed in front of cracked mirrors while seasoned trainers barked instructions in rapid Tagalog. The gym's fluorescent lights flickered occasionally, casting dancing shadows across the worn wooden floors that had witnessed countless dreams being forged and shattered. This was more than a training facility. It was a temple where Manila's fighting spirit came alive. Into this intense atmosphere stepped a man whose presence seemed to contradict everything around him. He wore a simple white t-shirt that had seen better days, paired with dark shorts that bore no designer labels or flashy logos. His flip-flops made soft slapping sounds against the floor as he walked, a stark contrast to the heavy boots worn by most serious fighters. At first glance, he appeared unremarkable, perhaps a curious tourist or someone's relative dropping by to watch. His slight frame seemed almost fragile among the muscled giants throwing combinations at heavy bags. The man's eyes, however, held a quiet intensity that spoke of experiences far beyond what his humble appearance suggested. He moved with an economy of motion that only came from years of disciplined training, though this subtlety was lost on most observers. The gym's regulars barely acknowledged the newcomer's presence, their focus remaining on their own training routines. Whispered conversations in hushed tones rippled through small groups of fighters, some casting sideways glances at the simply dressed visitor. "Sino yan?" echoed softly from corner to corner, the question hanging in the air like the heavy moisture outside. A few of the younger boxers snickered quietly, making assumptions about the man's fighting ability based solely on his modest appearance. The gym's atmosphere remained unchanged, its heartbeat steady and strong, unaware that something extraordinary was about to unfold. Even the old-timers, usually quick to spot talent or trouble, continued their conversations about upcoming matches and local boxing politics. The stranger's arrival had registered as barely a ripple in the gym's daily rhythm. Yet something indefinable shifted in the air, like the moment before a tropical storm when the wind suddenly stills. The man found a quiet corner and began stretching, his movements fluid and purposeful despite their apparent simplicity. His warm-up routine was methodical, each stretch held for the perfect duration, each rotation executed with precision that spoke of muscle memory ingrained over decades. Those who bothered to look closely might have noticed the way his shoulders rolled, the subtle power in his stance, or the focused calm that seemed to radiate from him. But in a gym full of fighters showcasing their skills, humility often goes unrecognized. The stage was being set for an encounter that would challenge every assumption about appearances, respect, and the true nature of a champion. Master Kim Jae-won stood at the center of his pristine academy, his black belt worn smooth from years of training and teaching. The polished wooden floors reflected the afternoon sunlight streaming through floor-to-ceiling windows that offered a commanding view of Manila's skyline. Traditional Korean flags hung proudly alongside Philippine banners, symbolizing the cultural bridge he had built in this foreign land. His students moved with disciplined precision through their forms, their white doboks crisp and movements sharp as razor blades. The sound of bare feet sliding across the mats mixed with controlled breathing and the occasional sharp kihap echoing through the spacious facility. 20 years in the Philippines had earned him respect, but his Korean heritage remained the foundation of his unwavering pride. This was his kingdom, where discipline reigned supreme and weakness had no place to hide. At 42, Master Kim's reputation extended far beyond the academy's walls into Manila's martial arts community. His trophy case gleamed with gold medals from international competitions, each one a testament to his devastating kicking techniques and lightning-fast reflexes. Students traveled from across the archipelago to train under his guidance, drawn by stories of his legendary tournament victories. His teaching philosophy was simple yet brutal. Respect must be earned through sweat, pain, and absolute dedication to the art. The master's piercing gaze could silence a room full of black belts with a single look of disapproval. Local fight promoters often sought his opinion on promising martial artists, knowing his eye for talent was rarely wrong. In his mind, Taekwondo wasn't just a fighting style, it was the superior martial art, and he was its most devoted guardian. The academy's afternoon session was in full swing when whispers began circulating about a disturbance at the boxing gym down the street. Master Kim's senior students spoke in hushed tones about some unknown fighter, causing a stir among the local boxing community. Their master listened with mild interest, his attention primarily focused on correcting a student's improper chamber technique. Boxing, in his view, was a crude, brawling style that lacked the elegance and precision of Taekwondo's deadly kicks. He had seen countless boxers attempt to transition into martial arts, only to fail miserably when faced with the complexity of proper technique. The Korean master's confidence was absolute. No boxer could match the speed and power of a true Taekwondo champion. These were the thoughts that filled his mind as fate prepared to test his convictions. Pride coursed through Master Kim's veins as he observed his students executing perfect spinning heel kicks with mechanical precision. The academy represented everything he had built from nothing, a monument to Korean martial arts excellence in the heart of the Philippines. His success story was one of discipline overcoming adversity, of traditional values conquering modern chaos and confusion. Every trophy, every black belt promotion, every respectful bow from his students reinforced his belief in Taekwondo's supremacy over all other fighting styles. The master straightened his shoulders, adjusting his belt with the practiced motion of someone who had never tasted defeat in combat. Little did he know that his greatest lesson in humility was walking through the doors of a humble boxing gym just blocks away. The collision course between pride and reality had already begun, though the Korean master remained blissfully unaware of the approaching storm. The news of activity at the downtown boxing gym reached Master Kim's academy through his most eager student, Miguel Santos. "Master, there's some guy at Mendoza's gym claiming he can fight," Miguel announced breathlessly, his eyes bright with excitement. The young Filipino had trained in Taekwondo for 3 years, but still harbored secret fantasies about testing his skills against boxers. Master Kim barely looked up from adjusting another student's stance, his expression showing mild irritation at the interruption. "Boxers always think they can fight," he replied dismissively, his Korean accent thick with condescension. The other students gathered around, sensing an opportunity for entertainment outside their rigid training routine. Miguel's description painted a picture of chaos and boastful claims that made the master's jaw tighten with disapproval. "He looks like nothing special, master. Just some small guy in regular clothes," Miguel continued, embellishing the story for maximum effect. The student described how the mysterious stranger had walked into the boxing gym with casual confidence that bordered on arrogance. According to the gossip chain that connected Manila's fighting establishments, this unknown fighter was making waves among the boxing community. Master Kim's interest was piqued not by respect, but by the familiar anger that rose whenever he heard about disrespectful behavior in martial arts. His mind immediately categorized this stranger as another street fighter with delusions of grandeur, the type who confused bravado with genuine skill. The Korean master had encountered countless such individuals throughout his career, and they all shared the same fate: humiliation. This would be no different, he assured himself with growing conviction. These boxing gyms attract all kinds of pretenders, Master Kim declared to his assembled students, his voice carrying the authority of absolute certainty. His years of competitive experience had taught him to recognize true fighters from mere wannabes with just a glance. The description of this casual intruder fit perfectly into his mental catalogue of fraudulent tough guys seeking attention and respect they hadn't earned. Filipino boxing culture, he believed, was too permissive, allowing anyone to step into a ring without proper foundation or discipline. A real martial artist would never present himself so carelessly, dressed like a common street vendor rather than a serious competitor. Master Kim's prejudices were fully activated, his mind already constructing the inevitable scenario where proper technique would triumph over crude brawling. The stranger's humble appearance only confirmed every assumption the Korean master held about the inferior nature of boxing culture. The afternoon sun cast long shadows across the academy floor as Master Kim made his decision with characteristic decisiveness. "Perhaps it's time someone taught this pretender about real martial arts," he announced, his students nodding eagerly in anticipation of their master's demonstration. The Korean champion began changing into his training gear, each movement deliberate and filled with the confidence of a man who had never met his equal. His black belt, worn smooth from decades of use, felt heavier with purpose as he tied it around his waist. 20 years of victories had created an armor of pride that seemed impenetrable to doubt or uncertainty. Master Kim's reflection in the academy mirrors showed a man preparing for what he believed would be another routine lesson in superiority. The stage was set for an encounter that would shatter assumptions, though only one participant understood the true nature of what was about to unfold. Master Kim's arrival at Mendoza Boxing Gym created an immediate stir among the afternoon training crowd. His pristine white dobok and perfectly tied black belt stood in stark contrast to the gym's gritty atmosphere of torn, heavy bags and weathered equipment. The Korean master's eyes quickly scanned the facility, searching for the mysterious challenger who had supposedly disrupted the local boxing hierarchy. His gaze settled on the unassuming man in the corner, still stretching with that same methodical precision that had gone unnoticed by most observers. "That's him?" Master Kim whispered to Miguel, unable to hide his disappointment at the stranger's ordinary appearance. The anticlimactic reality of his target only fueled his growing irritation and wounded pride at having made this journey. This would be easier than he had anticipated, perhaps even embarrassingly so for everyone involved. The boxing gym fell silent as Master Kim approached the stranger with measured steps, his martial arts training evident in every controlled movement. "I hear you think you can fight," the Korean master announced loudly, ensuring his words carried throughout the facility. His voice held the cold authority of someone accustomed to immediate respect and unquestioned obedience from subordinates. The humble man looked up with calm eyes that showed neither fear nor aggression, merely polite curiosity about this unexpected interruption. "I'm just here to train," came the quiet response in accented English, the voice carrying a gentleness that Master Kim interpreted as weakness. The Korean's confidence swelled as he recognized what he believed were the signs of intimidation and backing down. Here was confirmation of everything he had suspected about this supposed tough guy's true nature. "Training." Master Kim laughed harshly, the sound echoing off the concrete walls like a challenge to the boxing gym's very existence. "Real fighters don't hide behind humble words when faced with superior martial arts," he declared, his students nodding approvingly from their positions. The Korean master began demonstrating basic Taekwondo stances, his movements sharp and precise as he warmed up for what he expected to be a brief demonstration. His kicks cut through the air with audible whooshes, each technique executed with the perfection that had earned him international recognition. The stranger watched these displays with the same calm attention he had shown his stretching routine, neither impressed nor concerned. Master Kim misread this composure as fear disguised by false bravado, exactly what he expected from another pretender. The trap was being set, though the Korean master had no idea who would ultimately be caught within it. The challenge crystallized in the thick Manila air as Master Kim's patience finally snapped under the weight of his own expectations. "I challenge you to prove your worth," he declared formally, his Korean training demanding proper protocols even in this informal setting. The words hung between them like a bridge that, once crossed, could never be uncrossed by either combatant. Around them, the boxing gym transformed into an impromptu arena as fighters stopped their training to witness this unexpected confrontation. The stranger's response was a simple nod, accompanied by a slight smile that Master Kim interpreted as nervous acceptance rather than quiet confidence. Filipino boxing culture embraced such challenges as natural tests of warrior spirit, though none present could have predicted the lesson about to unfold. The die was cast, the gauntlet thrown, and two different worlds of martial arts were about to collide in the most unexpected way possible. The gym's atmosphere shifted as word spread through the cramped facility like wildfire through dry grass during summer. Old-timers who had been quietly working the speed bags suddenly found reasons to move closer to the impromptu arena. Teenage boxers abandoned their jump rope routines, their eyes wide with curiosity about this unexpected clash of fighting styles. "Wait, isn't that—" began one weathered trainer, his voice trailing off as recognition flickered across his weathered features. The whisper was caught by another veteran fighter who had spent decades in Manila's boxing circles, watching legends rise and fall. His sharp intake of breath was audible even over the gym's ambient noise of creaking leather and shuffling feet. The crowd's energy transformed from casual interest to electric anticipation as puzzle pieces began falling into place in several minds. Tatay Ruben, the gym's 70-year-old caretaker, dropped his mop with a clatter that echoed through the suddenly quiet facility. His hands trembled slightly as he pointed toward the humble challenger, his eyes reflecting decades of boxing knowledge and celebrity encounters. "Ay, Dios ko," he whispered in Tagalog, the words barely audible, but carrying the weight of absolute certainty. The old man had mopped floors when this same quiet figure had trained here years ago, during the early days before global stardom. His memory for faces was legendary among gym regulars, earned through 5 decades of witnessing boxing history unfold daily. Other veteran trainers followed his gaze, their expressions shifting from confusion to dawning realization as the impossible truth began to emerge. The Korean master remained oblivious to these subtle changes, his focus entirely consumed by his upcoming demonstration of Taekwondo superiority. "Hindi pwedeng siya yun," muttered Rico, a former regional champion whose fighting days had ended with a detached retina but whose love for boxing remained undiminished. His scarred hands gripped the gym's rope barriers as he leaned forward, studying the stranger's subtle movements with the trained eye of experience. The way the man shifted his weight, the unconscious roll of his shoulders, the relaxed readiness in his stance, all familiar signatures to those who knew boxing's elite. Younger fighters pressed closer, sensing the electricity in the air, but unable to identify its source or meaning. The whispers grew louder as more veterans began piecing together the incredible scenario unfolding before their eyes. Rico's excitement was infectious, spreading through the crowd like dominoes falling in perfect sequence throughout the packed gymnasium. Cell phones emerged from pockets as the realization spread, though none dared to start recording without understanding the full magnitude of what they were witnessing. The Korean master's students remained focused on their teacher, confident in his abilities and dismissive of the local boxer's growing excitement. Master Kim himself continued his warm-up routine, interpreting the crowd's energy as anticipation for his inevitable victory demonstration. But seasoned fight fans recognized the signs. The careful way gym regulars positioned themselves for optimal viewing angles, the respectful distance maintained around the humble challenger. "This is going to be something special," whispered an old cornerman to his companion, his voice thick with anticipation. The secret was spreading through the crowd like ripples on water. But the Korean master remained completely unaware of the storm he had unknowingly summoned. History was about to unfold in the most unexpected way possible. Master Kim stepped onto the makeshift canvas area, his polished black belt contrasting sharply against the gym's worn wooden floors. The Korean champion began with a traditional bow, his movements precise and ceremonial as years of martial arts protocol demanded. His opening stance was textbook perfect, weight distributed evenly, hands positioned for lightning-fast defensive blocks or devastating counterattacks. The stranger accepted the bow with quiet respect, then settled into what appeared to be a casual boxing stance. Master Kim's confidence soared as he observed his opponent's seemingly amateur positioning, interpreting the relaxed posture as proof of inexperience. The first exchange would be swift and decisive, he assured himself, a quick demonstration of Taekwondo's superiority over crude boxing techniques. The crowd held its collective breath as two different martial arts philosophies prepared to collide in spectacular fashion. The Korean master opened with a lightning-fast front kick, his legs snapping forward with the precision of a striking cobra. His technique was flawless, executed with the power that had dominated international competitions for over 2 decades of professional fighting. But as his foot traveled toward its target, something impossible happened. The humble challenger simply wasn't there anymore. The movement was so subtle, so economical, that Master Kim barely registered the slip until his kick met only empty air. Before he could recover his balance, a gentle tap landed on his ribs, soft as a feather but perfectly timed. The Korean's eyes widened in disbelief as he realized his opponent had somehow moved inside his range without triggering any defensive responses. This was not the clumsy brawling he had expected from a street fighter or amateur boxer. Master Kim reset his stance, his confidence shaken, but his pride demanding another attempt at establishing dominance through superior technique. He launched a devastating combination, a feinting jab followed by his signature spinning heel kick, the same technique that had won him 3 international championships. The execution was perfect, his form textbook precise, his timing calibrated through thousands of hours of dedicated training and competition. Yet again, his target seemed to evaporate like morning mist, leaving him spinning in empty space, while gentle pressure appeared on his shoulder. The tap was so light, it felt almost apologetic, but its message was crystal clear. He was being toyed with. The realization hit Master Kim like a physical blow as he understood he was facing something far beyond his comprehension or experience. The third exchange lasted mere seconds, but felt like an eternity to the stunned Korean master as reality crashed down around him. His most advanced techniques, polished through decades of training, were being neutralized with an ease that defied all logic and experience. The stranger's movements were minimal, almost invisible, yet devastatingly effective in their simplicity and perfect timing throughout the brief encounter. Master Kim found himself off balance, out of position, and completely outclassed by an opponent who seemed to be operating under entirely different rules. The gentle taps continued landing at will, each one a reminder of how utterly helpless he had become against this mysterious fighter. Around them, the crowd's murmurs grew louder as the impossible unfolded before dozens of witnesses who understood exactly what they were seeing. The Korean champion's world was collapsing with each passing second of this one-sided demonstration. The devastating realization crashed over Master Kim like a typhoon, hitting the Philippine coast with unstoppable force and fury. His legs felt weak as the impossible truth settled into his consciousness, shattering every assumption he had held about his opponent. The gentle man in simple clothes wasn't just any boxer. He was looking into the eyes of boxing royalty. "Manny Pacquiao," he whispered, the name escaping his lips like a prayer mixed with disbelief and growing horror. The 8-division world champion stood before him with that same humble smile, completely unchanged by the recognition that was spreading through Kim's expression. 20 years of martial arts pride crumbled in an instant as the Korean master understood the magnitude of his miscalculation. He had challenged a living legend, mistaking greatness for ordinary mediocrity based solely on appearances and his own arrogant assumptions. The crowd erupted in a mixture of excited murmurs and respectful silence as Master Kim's recognition became apparent to everyone present. Camera phones that had been hesitantly raised now focused with laser precision on the unfolding drama of epic proportions. "The fighting pride of the Philippines," whispered one awestruck observer, using Pacquiao's most cherished nickname with reverence and growing excitement. Young boxers pushed closer, their eyes wide with the realization that they were witnessing history unfold in their humble training facility. Master Kim's students looked on in confusion, unable to understand why their invincible teacher suddenly appeared so small and vulnerable. The Korean champion felt the weight of dozens of eyes upon him, each gaze a reminder of his catastrophic error in judgment. This wasn't just any boxing gym encounter. This was a meeting with one of the greatest fighters in human history. Master Kim's hands trembled as the full scope of Pacquiao's achievements flooded through his memory like an unstoppable river of accomplishments. 8 different weight divisions conquered, each title a testament to skill that transcended normal human limitations and expectations of greatness. Victories over legendary champions like Oscar de la Hoya, Miguel Cotto, and countless other boxing immortals whose names were etched in fighting history. The Korean master remembered watching some of these fights on television, admiring the Filipinos' incredible speed and power from the safety of distance. Now he stood face to face with that same lightning-fast precision, having experienced it firsthand in the most humbling way possible. His Taekwondo techniques, polished through decades of training, had been neutralized effortlessly by a master of the sweet science. The gap between their skill levels wasn't just significant, it was an unbridgeable chasm that no amount of pride could overcome. I didn't know," Master Kim stammered, his voice barely audible above the gym's electric atmosphere of disbelief and excitement. The words felt inadequate, pathetic even, as they hung in the air between legend and reality like a white flag of surrender. His black belt, once a symbol of supreme confidence and martial arts mastery, now felt like a costume worn by a child, playing at being something greater. Manny's expression remained kind, understanding, completely free of the mockery or anger that the Korean master knew he deserved after such disrespectful behavior. "It's okay, brother," came the gentle response, the champion's voice carrying the same humility that had made him beloved worldwide. Master Kim felt his eyes filling with tears of shame and overwhelming respect as the true measure of greatness stood patiently before him. This was a lesson that would change everything he thought he knew about strength, humility, and what it truly meant to be a champion. Master Kim's legs gave way as he dropped to one knee in front of the boxing legend, his pride completely shattered and rebuilt in a single moment. The Korean champion's head bowed low in the deepest gesture of respect his culture could offer to someone truly deserving of honor. "Forgive me, champion," he whispered, his voice thick with emotion and genuine remorse that echoed through the silent gymnasium. Years of arrogance melted away like ice under the tropical Manila sun, replaced by overwhelming humility and newfound understanding of true greatness. His students watched in stunned silence as their invincible master displayed a vulnerability they had never witnessed in their years of training. The proud Korean fighter had been transformed in mere minutes from a conquering warrior into a respectful student seeking forgiveness. This moment would be seared into his memory forever, a reminder of how quickly assumptions can crumble when confronted with reality. Manny Pacquiao's response was immediate and characteristically gracious as he gently placed a hand on the kneeling master's trembling shoulder. "Please stand up, brother," the champion said softly, his words carrying the warmth that had endeared him to millions worldwide. "We are both martial artists here, both students of fighting, both seeking to improve ourselves through discipline and dedication to our chosen arts." His humility in victory was perhaps more devastating than any knockout punch could have been to Master Kim's reformed understanding of strength. The Filipino legend helped the Korean fighter to his feet with the same gentleness he had shown during their brief sparring session. Around them, the gym remained respectfully quiet, everyone present understanding they were witnessing something far more valuable than any championship bout. This was a masterclass in grace, dignity, and the true meaning of being a champion in life as well as sport. "Your Taekwondo is beautiful," Manny continued, his genuine appreciation evident in every word he spoke to the humbled Korean master. "I have always respected martial arts and the discipline required to master such techniques as you have clearly dedicated your life to perfecting." Master Kim looked up with tear-filled eyes, amazed by the champion's ability to find something positive in what had been a complete demonstration of superiority. The Filipino's words weren't empty consolation, but sincere recognition of the years Master Kim had invested in his chosen martial art. "Perhaps we can learn from each other," Pacquiao suggested with a smile that could light up the darkest corners of any gymnasium. The Korean master nodded eagerly, his heart swelling with gratitude for this unexpected gift of respect from someone he now recognized as infinitely greater. The transformation from challenger to student had been completed with grace and dignity that would inspire everyone present for years to come. The atmosphere in the gym shifted from electric tension to warm camaraderie as two warriors from different worlds found common ground in mutual respect. Master Kim straightened his shoulders, his black belt retied with new understanding of what true strength really meant in the world of combat sports. "I would be honored to learn from you, champion," he replied formally, his Korean training finally serving its proper purpose in showing respect to deserving greatness. The crowd began to relax as the confrontation transformed into something beautiful, a bridge between cultures built on shared respect for martial arts excellence. Cameras captured the moment as both fighters bowed to each other, the image destined to become legendary among Manila's fighting community and beyond. Master Kim's students watched in awe as their teacher demonstrated perhaps his greatest technique, the ability to recognize true greatness and respond with appropriate humility. This was a lesson worth more than any trophy or championship belt either man could ever win in competition. Manny Pacquiao's response to the situation revealed the character that had made him beloved far beyond the boxing ring's boundaries. "You know what, Master Kim?" the champion said with genuine enthusiasm, his eyes lighting up with the curiosity of a lifelong student. "I've always wanted to learn proper kicking techniques from a real Taekwondo master like yourself, someone with your level of expertise and dedication." The offer was sincere, not patronizing, coming from a man who understood that true champions never stop learning from others. Master Kim's jaw dropped as he realized the legend was genuinely interested in his martial arts knowledge, despite the vast difference in their fighting abilities. Around them, the gym buzzed with amazement as Pacquiao demonstrated why he was considered one of the most humble superstars in sports history. This wasn't just diplomatic politeness. This was authentic respect for another warrior's journey and accumulated wisdom through years of dedicated training. The Filipino champion began asking specific technical questions about Taekwondo footwork, his genuine curiosity evident in every inquiry about stance and movement. "How do you generate so much power in those high kicks?" Pacquiao asked, positioning himself to mirror Master Kim's basic stance with the eagerness of a white belt. The Korean master found himself actually teaching the boxing legend, explaining the biomechanics of proper hip rotation and chamber techniques with growing confidence. His voice grew stronger as he demonstrated the fundamental principles that had taken him decades to perfect through countless hours of practice. The surreal nature of the situation wasn't lost on anyone present. An 8-division world champion was humbly receiving instruction from the man he had just completely outclassed. Pacquiao absorbed every detail with the same intensity that had made him great in boxing, proving that true champions remain students throughout their entire careers. The respect was no longer one-sided, but flowing freely between two dedicated martial artists from different worlds. "Your flexibility is incredible," Manny observed, as Master Kim demonstrated a perfect head-high sidekick with textbook precision and devastating power potential. The champion's admiration was genuine, his eyes studying every aspect of the technique with the analytical mind of a professional fighter. "Boxing keeps us tight in the hips, but this requires completely different muscle groups and coordination than anything I've ever experienced." Master Kim glowed with pride as he continued his impromptu lesson, finding his voice and confidence returning under Pacquiao's respectful attention. The Korean master began to understand that he was witnessing greatness not just in fighting ability, but in character and humility. "Perhaps you could show me some boxing footwork in return," Kim asked hopefully, hardly believing his own boldness in making such a request. The champion's immediate smile and enthusiastic nod confirmed that this cultural exchange would be the highlight of both fighters' day in the gymnasium. The training session that followed transformed the entire gym's atmosphere, as two masters shared knowledge across cultural and stylistic boundaries with mutual respect. Pacquiao demonstrated his legendary footwork, breaking down the subtle movements that had confused countless world-class opponents throughout his historic career. Master Kim absorbed every detail like a sponge, his analytical mind cataloging techniques that could enhance his own martial arts understanding and teaching methods. The crowd gathered in respectful silence, understanding they were witnessing something special, a spontaneous masterclass from two elite fighters sharing their life's work freely. Camera phones captured the moment as boxing met Taekwondo in perfect harmony, with both champions displaying the humility that separated true greatness from mere technical skill. The Korean master's earlier humiliation had been transformed into the greatest learning experience of his martial arts career, all because of one champion's incredible grace. This was how legends created more legends, through generosity of spirit and genuine respect for the warrior's journey that connected all fighters regardless of style or background. 6 months later, Master Kim's academy had transformed into something unrecognizable from its former rigid, pride-driven atmosphere of superiority and cultural isolation. Photos from that legendary day at Mendoza's gym adorned the walls alongside his competition trophies, each image telling the story of humility learned and respect earned. The Korean master now began every class by recounting the lesson about never judging opponents by their appearance or humble demeanor in life. His students practiced with newfound respect for all martial arts styles, understanding that true strength came from acknowledging rather than dismissing other fighting traditions. The Academy's motto had changed from Taekwondo supremacy to respect through understanding, reflecting Master Kim's complete philosophical transformation after his encounter with greatness. Monthly boxing workshops were now held at the facility, with local Filipino fighters sharing their knowledge alongside traditional Taekwondo instruction in perfect harmony. The Korean master had become a bridge between fighting communities rather than a fortress of isolated pride and cultural superiority. Master Kim's relationship with the boxing community blossomed into something beautiful as he became a regular visitor at Mendoza's gym for cross-training sessions. The Korean fighter's kicks had improved dramatically under boxing influence, while his footwork gained the fluid mobility that only comes from studying multiple martial arts disciplines. His monthly sparring sessions with local boxers were conducted with mutual respect and genuine learning objectives, rather than attempts to prove superiority over other styles. The master's students followed his example, many earning respect in local boxing gyms through their humble attitudes and willingness to learn from experienced fighters. That day changed everything, Master Kim often told visitors, his voice filled with gratitude for the lesson that had saved him from a lifetime of arrogant blindness. The Korean's reputation grew throughout Manila's fighting community, not for his kicking ability alone, but for his character transformation and bridge building between different martial arts cultures. His story became legendary among martial artists seeking to understand the true meaning of strength and respect in combat sports. The boxing gym where the encounter occurred became a pilgrimage site for martial artists from across the Philippines seeking inspiration and wisdom about humility. Tatay Ruben delighted in retelling the story to wide-eyed visitors, his version growing more elaborate with each telling while maintaining absolute accuracy about the lesson's core. Young fighters learned that greatness often walks among them in the humblest forms, wearing simple clothes and speaking softly rather than boasting loudly. The gym's atmosphere had been permanently changed by witnessing authentic humility triumph over pride in the most spectacular fashion imaginable for everyone present. Local fight promoters began organizing respectful cross-style exhibitions inspired by the example of two champions finding common ground through mutual respect and shared dedication. The story spread through social media, becoming a viral sensation that reminded the world why Manny Pacquiao was beloved far beyond his boxing achievements. The humble gym had hosted a masterclass in character that resonated throughout the global martial arts community for years to come. Master Kim's final transformation was perhaps the most profound, as he discovered that losing his pride had actually made him a stronger fighter and teacher. His technical skills improved dramatically when freed from the burden of needing to prove superiority over every opponent or fighting style he encountered. Students flocked to his academy not just for Taekwondo instruction, but for lessons in humility, respect, and the warrior's true path to greatness through character development. The Korean master often visited schools throughout Manila, sharing his story with young people about the dangers of judging others by appearances alone. "I thought I was facing a nobody," he would conclude his presentations, "but I learned that day that true champions walk quietly among us." His friendship with Manny Pacquiao continued, with both fighters occasionally training together when the champion's schedule permitted such cultural exchanges between martial artists. The encounter that began with arrogance and mistaken assumptions had blossomed into a beautiful friendship that exemplified the best values of martial arts: respect, humility, and never-ending learning from one another. This incredible true story reminds us that greatness often walks among us in the most humble forms, teaching us never to judge by appearances alone. What did you think of Master Kim's transformation? Hit subscribe for more inspiring stories of champions who changed lives through humility and respect.